Whoever likes these videos, thank you. So I like to just put it out here like this. This channel right here is my life. If social media was around when I was a kid, I could definitely. I felt like this because I was a homebody, indoors kind of guy. I would have definitely had like a nice following if social media was around, like during the early 2000s and all the stuff that I was going through. I would have definitely had a nice following. But this is my life right here, and just like in life, your mind changes, your mindset changes, everything changes, and sometimes that can be good or bad. So I understand, like I said, when I had converted to Christianity, not everybody on the last channel, they weren't really, they didn't want to hear it. It's not like they didn't want to hear it, but I told you that you people, it's like this. Christianity doesn't work, and it's not going to work unless when you are currently doing a behavior that is against the Bible, because they don't mix, because Christianity or Jesus reminds you how much you shouldn't be doing it. So telling them about the word is almost like them eating a hoagie or a cheesesteak while while showing them videos on heart disease and kidney failure. They don't want to hear that. So, you know, I'm glad that I reached two people on here that internalize my message. And don't, like I said, go at your own pace. You don't have to go my whole route. But I feel like every day we should just incorporate, give it 5 minutes, give 1 minute. And that 1 minute will turn to five, then it'll turn to 10, then 20, then 30, then 40, then 50. And maybe you'll be like me. I don't know. But it's just that at the age I'm at, I'm trying to do what I can to see 41 and 51 and so on. And I had to cut out the wrong behaviors. And you learn these things the older you get. Because like I said, you're gonna change a lot of your things you believe. Like you won't think the same way you did in your 20s like you will in your 30s. But I'm trying to think about where was I going with this video. I was thinking about, oh yeah, here we go. So when we talk about allegiance, right? When we talk about allegiance, that is something I don't hold towards anything but God, and it explicitly talks about what we, well, not explicitly, but we interpret that as like to modernize the meaning of the second commandment. To get a little up to date, I was looking at Google's interpretation of the second commandment. And that's funny because Google is not a Christian website, but it was explaining that you should not put anything before God. And that also means your family. That's why they say God first, then family. I think it was AJ Styles that said it. It was God first, family, then, so on and so on. But God is before everything. And for me, I took that to an extreme to where I denounce like allegiance to race, to nationality. But in spite of that, like I said, I'm comfortable of myself. I'm comfortable of in my own skin. I think this is a great country. I think it is the greatest country. But I don't have allegiance to this country. If you were to ask me if I was at a baseball game, because I did this at church last week, if I was at a baseball game and they were like, "Hey, let everybody rise for the national anthem," I would sit down. I wouldn't stand up, and I'm not just saying that to get a reaction. I really mean that. I would not stand for the flag, and I believe this was a what do you call it, during the when the Supreme Court has like a major case. It'll come to mind. Cause like I said, I'm going to be doing political science when I go back to school. But it was in my paralegal studies class. But I would, if I went to a baseball game, hockey game, whatever, I wouldn't rise for the national anthem. I would sit down, wouldn't make a scene about it, but I wouldn't stand for the national anthem. Even during um landmark cases in the Supreme Court. There you go, landmark cases. An example of a landmark case would be like Plessy versus Ferguson, or Brown versus the Board of Education. I'm trying to think of one more just to make my point. Ireland versus Illinois. That's a landmark in the Supreme Court. Ireland versus Illinois. That was referenced during the Darrell Brooks trial. But when I was in elementary school, Catholic school, we had to say the pledge after we prayed in the morning. I think we said the pledge first. I don't remember. I think it was the pledge. No, the pledge was after prayer. Yeah, God, because God comes for everything in Catholic school, obviously. So the pledge was last. Now, here's the thing: it is not against the law to refuse to stand for the pledge. The pledge is an optional. Um, you know, it's like it's a sign of respect. That's all it really is. If you stand for the national anthem, you're not breaking the law if you don't stand for the national anthem. But I don't want to cause a scene at the same time. Um, the same thing with the pledge, right? It's optional. If you were to ask me to stand for the pledge, I would not stand for the pledge. When I was at church last week, they sung the national black anthem. I refuse to stand for that, and I'm going to bring that up during the conference because the pastor, it's cool. I'm cool with my pastor, but it's just that race is holding us back, and like I said, I'm gonna just. I don't think it was his idea to do the whole Black History Month in church, but it's like we are not supposed to have anything like we're not supposed to put our racial identity, our racial culture. That's all it really is before God. Those things are they violate the second commandment. Love for this country separate it violates the second commandment. Political ideologies. I'm not saying don't vote because when I'm going to obviously to finish school, I'm going to be here for a little while because I want to at least finish like junior college and transfer somewhere else. I don't know where I'm going to go after that, but I may vote for Sherelle Parker. I've never voted Democrat in my life. I may vote for her because the murder rate is down. I'm not against her giving money to police if it could, reduce crime. Because Jim Kenney had this murder rate up in like it was like six. It was almost 600 murders when I had to flee this city. But I might vote for Sherelle Parker, but I don't have no political affiliation. Like I'm not a Republican anymore. I'm not a Democrat. I want to do what I can that I feel is best for me. But you're really not supposed to vote at all. But like I said, when the election comes, I'm not voting for. I don't really know what's going on because I'm not watching the news. But I'm not voting for Trump. If it's true when they say he's going to try to run again, I guess that means JD Vance will be like president and he'll be vice president. I'm not voting for him, and I'm not voting for whoever is running against him. I don't know who's running, but like I said, I will vote locally. I believe like your state and your local government matter. I really believe we need to educate ourselves on what it is we're voting for first. But I don't believe in being I don't believe in being politically, inactive just because my religion. But like I said, you have to put those things like ideologies. You have to put those things aside if you really want to have a better relationship with God. Put those things last, because they, like I said, it violates the second commandment. Put aside your love for this country. Put aside your political affiliations, your racial pride, your nationalism. It's not these all these things can change. Who's to say 100 years from now North Korea could take over America, which I believe may happen. And will you be a proud American then if Kim Jong Un's son or whoever is now running this country? Probably not. Like I said, this is one of the greatest countries, but I don't love it. I don't love this country. I'm not gonna die for this country. I'm gonna die for my belief in God. I'll die for that. I stand strong on my faith, but I don't love America, and neither should you. You should never have that kind of devotion for a country that, like I said, it's all, like I said, we're all one country. We're all just one. We're all just one planet. But you should never put God effort anything, and I mean anything.